friends with the body and mind, you never have to run again. Everything is a microcosm, macrocosm. You know, Michelle is a part of a movement, a conservation project that's designed to set up to save the entire oceans of the planet. And it occurred to me that there are a number of very noble causes being championed on this planet right now, but there's a dark side to them, because the dark side is if you don't clean up the inner environment, you can just become a dogmatist championing a cause. You know, we want to save the whales, because how can the poor little whales be slaughtered, but then we go home and we eat meat and whatever else, and like those, how can those people do that? You know, and you get rigid and dogmatic about your cause. It's a noble cause, it's a good cause, but it's not really seeing the underlying issue. That the waters are being polluted because people are ignorant about interconnectivity and cause and effect. It's clean, you know, simple as that. That we're, you know, either lazy or don't care or apathetic or don't have any forethought about the effects, how things ripple back and affect us, until it's all largely too late. And we don't see that in our own life, never mind the big projects of the planet. We don't see the impact of harboring resentment, anger, ill will in our own mind, and what the ripple effects might that be on a local level. Or greed, lust, envy, pride, all of those things that we started talking about. Like, those big projects are essential, but if they're driven simply as a cause without the inner grounding and without the mind that's looking at the real causes for pollution, war, devastation, destruction, corporations. You know, I used to sit, and I still do, I used to think of the Three Stooges. My Three Stooges are Rumsfeld, Cheney, and W. You know, and I call them Rummy, Dick, and W. You know, and they basically just like, you know, stole everybody's money and created such havoc on the planet and resentment against the United States and whatever, so that they could profit and build infrastructure for their own good. You know, I could easily make them into demons, right? Easily. But the thing is that there's a being in there that's completely misguided. There's a being in each of the Three Stooges that's completely misguided, that's not seeing how this is coming back to hurt them and their family, basically. And in a way, you can just stop the whole thing and just look in your own life, how you're doing things, I'm doing things, we're doing things that are coming back to actually make our situation worse, when at first it appears that we're trying to do the best that we can. When anger strikes, when you feel scarce and you reach and grab for something, when you objectify another human being, simple things like, I always use the analogy of the subway. Lots happens on the subway. Simple things like you get off at your stop, you've already arrived. You've gotten where you want to go. Somebody's coming through the turnstile, wants to catch the train that you just got off of. Who wants to go first through the turnstile? A simple thing like that is the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. If you're like me and you can raise your hand and say, I do that, then that's the tip of the iceberg. And if you follow that iceberg down to the depth, that's where the problems of the whole planet are coming from. So you can champion a huge cause, but if you don't take care of the depths of where this is coming from, it's called misperception, misunderstanding. Fundamentally, everybody in here thinks that they're a separate being and that they need to get theirs before anybody next to them. That's pretty much the legacy of our animal evolution. Fight, flight, compete. get yours because there's not enough, run or attack, hoard. Millions and millions of years stored in our brain that way. But then we have this funny extra fold right here that gives us a lot of possibility to break free from that. And actually underneath the fold, there's this other little part in the limbic system that is our mammalian birthright. Our mammalian birthright is that which connects us, fosters cooperation, and allows us to have empathy. Now, when it's our own child, we can do that. In my case, I don't have children, but I do have 2 bulldogs. And when I get up in the morning at 7 a.m., I can have the first thought of, I wonder if little Nugget slept well last night. And I wonder if in this heat, Bobo can make it around the block or not, or can he handle 2 blocks? Would he like to go to the park? Did they get enough water? Is the water the right temperature? Would they like to have a play date this weekend? And when I do that, it's tremendous pleasure, because for that brief moment that I'm having those thoughts, I'm not thinking about what I need and what of my back hurts and my run and will I have enough time and this and that and the other. And what I've done in my limbic system, I've shifted from the reptilian flight defense into what's called the love growth mammalian brain. And then I can use the folds in my brain to think wide and vast and into the future and into the past and make calculations and all of this. And I can respond to the immediate situation by pausing for a moment, which Nugget and Boris can't do unless I tell them to do. And even when I tell them to do, they can't do it. Don't chew on that chew toy. That's called response flexibility. That's the same thing we talked about in mindfulness of sensations, that just before you check out or you grab at the next thing or you reach for the booze or whatever, a little part of your mind is scanning and is aware and creates enough space to resist that. But deep inside the nervous system, we can go one of 2 ways. We can go more self-protective, reptilian, competitive, aggressive. We can go more towards the love growth, cooperation. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us expanding our nervous system so that not just my child or Nugget or Boris or my wife is considered my family, right? Because I'm willing to surrender a meal or go the extra mile or stay up late if someone's sick or think about, what would this person like, and do all those nice things for my immediate family. But then just one step in the other direction, the person sitting next to you is a stranger. 1 degree of separation. Suddenly that person is an entity other. But we're all capable, very, very, actually quite profoundly, to surrender that little story and to access the part of our nervous system that can actually think about another person, feel another person. Mirror neurons are these things in our brain that if someone has a ugly, screwed up face or a smiley face or like a bent out of shape face or a scared face, you feel what's going on inside of them. Dan Siegel likes to call that mind sight. The integration of empathy and compassion. Empathy is knowing what's going on inside another human being. Compassion is feeling it. The combination is called mind sight, as if you could just look and feel right into the brain and situation experience of another human being. That's the way out of this predicament. Everything else is situated to reinforce the I, me, my doctrine and the closure and the scales and the fangs and the reaching and grabbing and the self-protection. But inside that very nervous system is a very, very subtle, sensitive creature that's designed to extend its nervous system to feel other beings and to respond to the needs of other beings so that we can move forward as a family. That's the idea. Every division that you can conceive of that divides you from another being is simply a construction. Every single division. And then you cling and you hang to your division. What you do is you separate yourself out. The others become an other. They're lowered. They're less significant. This is a ploy that's been used in war, all propaganda machine. We make them into another, and then we can make them into an enemy. And that's how we can do horrible things to each other. But it's all based on construction. It's not the actual reality. It's all based on an arbitrary idea, other. In fact, all mammals share that. There's actually no difference between the person sitting next to you and you from this perspective, from this mind science or traditional contemplative science perspective. They want to be happy and they want to avoid suffering. And they feel just like you when someone pisses you off or takes something away, or, the market crashes or whatever. The thing is that we don't realize that by tapping into that, we'll actually feel happier. We think that if we surrender the reptilian instincts, we'll actually be vulnerable to attack. That's the big dilemma. In politics, it's called unilateral disarmament. Who's going to stop? Who's going to put their saber down first? Who's going to put their missiles down first? If we've got missiles from Russia pointing at us, and who's going to do it? Then everybody wants missiles now. And nobody's happy.